This is the story about making some boats. I've always been drawn to the sea and to boats, and from a young age I was fascinated with and played around on boats, and that continued on. And as a teenager I started hanging around boat shop, and I was just fascinated with that form, the way they mimic the shape of the human body, the amazing complexity of their form, their inside and their outside, the vessel shape that holds water and holds people in water, and just the gracefulness of them, the way in which they can move across the water, the way they can carry us over, bring us across, and the many different forms they take. And in my teaching, I've taken students out on the water now for many years, and it's often been a struggle, challenge, but I keep trying to find ways to keep this going and to innovate. And for many years we've been using these wonderful Voyager canoes with Wilderness Inquiry as our provider. But it seemed that after doing that for about 10 years that there might be other ways to do it. So on my sabbatical and in the midst of the COVID pandemic, I was visiting with my father, who's a bronze sculptor who makes vessels himself out of metal. And I've helped him a little bit over the years in some of his projects. So while I was visiting with him, and I began thinking about that kind of creativity that he's inspired in me, and thought about ways that we might build some boats. And so sitting in the house with him, I began making some sketches. And here's the first sketch I made. It was for a catamaran with a central platform. And this is a very rough idea, but I talked to some folks I know. I called a naval architect who gave me some great advice on design. And then I started elaborating on this and making some more finished drawings and looking at budgets, and ran some of these new numbers by the university to see how that sounded. And with those drawings then in place, I got back home to Minnesota where it was still cold and snowy, and made a 1/12 scale model of the boat to try it out, because this is how a lot of boats start out. You just make a little model of it. And so this was the scale model made out of balsa wood in the basement of the house. And then once the snow melted, we took it out on Minnehaha Creek, just right by our house, and gave it a try. And I had to tweak things a little bit, but this is it, just scooting along, and it was so fun to see it. With those plans and models in place, I went ahead, got the approval, ordered some lumber, and set up shop in the backyard of my house. And the first step is to build the form of the boat using these simple stations, they're called, onto which you bend these stringers or long battens. And by attaching them to these stations, you define the shape of the hull. And it was a lot of this is just kind of done by eye and by feel to see how they fit, how the wood will bend, what looks fair. You want all the curves on the boat to be nice and smooth. So that's a process of kind of trial and error as we go. And so then you see, once the battens are on, how it forms the shape of each of these hulls. And we're going to build 4 of these. But this was what initially created the shape of the water strider hulls here. You kind of see, this is the first view of what they look like. And alongside there you see some of the other pieces we had, the tables and the chairs and things. And then there was just a lot of work cutting up a lot of ash, wood, and plywood and other pieces, sawing away, making a lot of sawdust, and then gradually putting those pieces all together onto the frame. And I had the able assistance of Hannah Connor, an intern from McAllister College that my friend and colleague John Kim connected me with, and Hannah was great help, a vital part of the team in getting all of this together. Screwing on some of the frames here as we started to assemble this first of the hulls. Then we started putting the plywood on, and it really began to take shape. So you see here the first of these finished hulls, at least in its rough form. And there, with my wonderful children, Marin and Hill, trying it out for the first time, striking a pose. And then they also helped move the hulls over to Augsburg University to the theater shop, to their scene shop, where we were very fortunate to be able to use that facility, which was just a wonderful space in which to build the remaining 3 hulls. So we had 4 altogether. And here Elias helped out for a day along with Hannah as we did that. And after the hulls were done, we did these what are called bridge decks. We made 2 of those that came together with these hatches for all the gear. And we made the masts. They're very cool, hollow, 8-sided masts made out of ash and fir. And we started putting those together to get a sense of the whole shape of the boat. It was getting pretty exciting. For the first time, we put all the pieces together in the theater, in the Black Box Theater. Here's Hannah and Stephen, who came by for a bit as well to help out. And it was really cool to see them all put together. We even put the sails up barely inside the theater. And then we kind of got into the final push, where we had to put the fiberglass on the hulls. This is the fiberglass cloth. And in this final push, there was a great crew of people that came in to help out. So in addition to John and to Hannah, we had Alicia Johnson and Mark Borello and Jason Ludwig and Michelle Garvey and Linda Baturian and a whole host of folks who came by to help out here and there. And it was great. Really essential in terms of getting the project done. Here, Mark and Alicia and John and Hannah working on applying the fiberglass and the epoxy. And so things started to come together. And in those last few furious weeks of work, we got all the pieces assembled and primed and painted and started to put them together in the parking lot there, and got the sails set up, and at last it looked like we had something that would actually float. So in early August, we took the first of the finished boats down to the Watergate Marina and got it into the water. And there it was, floating for the first time. Really exciting moment. And we took it for a shakedown cruise with some good friends, Natalie Warren and Michelle Garvey, and many of the gang who've been working. And there's Mark and John and Alicia. And we're sailing for the first time. And it was just so fun to see it. And it really worked great. We were able to, again, get a sense of how these vessels would work and how relaxing it could be. And Ben Weaver was there, and we cruised along, really just marveling at how well the boats worked, and what a joy it was to be out on the water in these new vessels. So at that point, it looked like the boats were ready, and now all we needed was some students and a little more gear and to get the second boat done. And so in the next few weeks, that's what we did. And before you know it, the 4th river semester had begun. But that is a subject for another video.